welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa, and on my channel we discuss the dark, disturbing and the weird, because that's a bit of me, and if that's also a bit of you, then please consider subscribing to my channel. So today I'm back with another true crime case, and it's a very interesting one today in the sense that it provides a strong message I think we all need to hear sometimes. The message we can take from this case is that you don't really know the people around you. You don't know your neighbours as much as you think you do, and we really don't know what's happening behind closed doors. We see lots of people who seem to have the idyllic relationship or the perfect family, and we look in wondering how they keep it together, but that is very rarely the case. So don't take things at face value. There's always a difference behind closed doors. So our story today begins in Luton, which is in England, and it starts off with a 21-year-old Pakistani man called Hafiz Rahman, and he's actually brought over from Pakistan on an arranged marriage. So he's meeting the Khan family and he's marrying the eldest daughter. Her name was Saima Khan. This is a very common thing back then in the early 2000s and still now in the Pakistani culture. Arranged marriage is a big thing. People like to marry within their close circle of friends because they feel that it's a more successful relationship. So Hafiz got his passport and he moved to England, and he moves in with the Khan family, and the Khan family consists of Mr. and Mrs. Khan, Saima Khan, the oldest, Sabah Khan, who is the middle child, and then a younger brother of theirs. But although 8 years apart, Saima and Sabah were extremely close. They were always doing things together. They both worked as carers, but the time that Hafiz moved in, Saima was 18, so she was obviously old enough to get married, but Sabah was only 10 years old. So by the time that Hafiz had got to England and was introduced to the Khan family, his sister-in-law was just 10 years old and he was in his early 20s. And despite this, by all accounts, they seem to have got on really well and he really fitted in with the family. Sabah describes her relationship with her sister as two souls in one body. So if you can imagine what that would feel like, they were, by all accounts, very, very close. The neighbours reported seeing them always going out together, leaving the house together, going to the shops, going to work. And as I said, they both worked as carers. Hafiz also got a job as a taxi driver, and that was his main profession to provide for Saima and the Khan family. Now, everything went really well and the couple quickly adjusted to married life in Luton, and they then went on to have 3 children. And I just find that crazy that all these people lived under the same roof. So now you've got 3 generations living in that home. So it was happy families for a while, and Sabah took on the role of the supportive, loving aunt, and she would regularly look after her nieces and nephews while Saima was out caring for the elderly on her shift. But in 2011, Saima had turned 26 and Sabah, the younger daughter, had just turned 18. And what we later find out is that Sabah actually started developing feelings for Hafiz, her sister's husband, and they actually began having a sexual relationship. I know. They would sneak around, they would have sex in his taxi, charming, and they would sleep together in the home while Saima was out on her shifts. As I said, they were all living under the same roof, so you've got Mr. and Mrs. Khan, Sabah, Saima, their brother, Hafiz, and now Hafiz and Saima's 3 children. Eventually, this developed into a full-blown affair, and this would go on for 4 years. And to our knowledge, no one else knows, but there could have been signs, other family members could have known, but it's just such a bizarre thing that you just don't expect to happen. So by all accounts, the affair was secret and it was going on for a long, long time. So we don't really know what Hafiz's motive was for sleeping with his wife's younger sister. Remember, he's 10 years older as well, so he's seen her grow up from a 10-year-old child, so it's a bit dodgy in my opinion, but nevertheless, they continued this affair and they were not caught. But as I said, Hafiz, there's no reason for him to do this, but on the other hand, with Saba, we know that she is in love with him. He is the only man that she's ever been exposed to. She's obviously lives in quite a strict household with a strict religion. So she's never dated boys, she's never got with boys from school or anything like that. So when an older man is showing you attention in that way, it could be very confusing. So of course she just had all these emotions and she became obsessed with him. At one point, Saba even became pregnant with Hafiz's child, and she thought she was going to have exactly what her sister Saima has. She thought she would have Hafiz and she would have her own child, but Hafiz forced her to get an abortion and terminate the pregnancy, which is not something Saba wanted to do. But because she was so infatuated with him, she would have done whatever she could to keep him happy. Now, Hafiz actually at one point went down to his local mosque and spoke with one of the men there, and he inquired about the idea of having two wives. He said, would I be able to have two wives, in particularly two Muslim sisters? But the guy at the mosque just said, no, this would not be accepted in the Islamic religion. But throughout the affair, Hafiz was really dropping the ball and picking it back up with her. He would randomly just stop with all the attention and stop sleeping with her and focus more on his wife Saima, and then he would pick her back up again, and it was a really toxic cycle. And obviously for Saba, this is sending her out of control. In 2015, their fourth child was born, and at this point, Hafiz and Saima actually went to the family and said, thanks for everything, but we're going to move out, we're going to take our family and we're going to start our life together. Understandably. But of course, when Saba heard this sent shockwaves through her system, and she could not let that happen. She wanted that family life, she wanted the marriage, she wanted the man, and she was not going to let her sister and Hafiz move out and no longer have him. She would completely lose control. It's the only man she's ever loved. So Saba does the unthinkable and hires a hitman to take out Saima, her own sister, the one that she once said both of their souls were in one body. She paid £500 to this man in Pakistani who was going to come over and take care of her, but she was scammed out of this money and nothing else came of that. So then she started Googling how to get away with murder, how to kill someone, poisonous snakes. What's the easiest way to kill someone? This someone being her 34-year-old sister. No one, not even Hafiz, knew what was going on inside Saba's head. And on one day, May 23rd, 2016, she put her sick plan into action. So the family were at a funeral at the local mosque. So it was Mr. and Mrs. Khan, Hafiz and the brother, and Saba was meant to stay home and look after her nieces and nephews, and Saima was out on a shift with an elderly woman who she was caring for at her home. So she actually Googles how long do funerals take. So she is really calculating what she is planning to do. And what she does is she texts Saima at about 10:30 to 11 and says that her eldest daughter, who's 7, is acting up and she's crying and she needs her mum. And being a mother, of course, Saima had to leave her job early, come home and be there for her daughter. But this wasn't the case. All 4 children were tucked up in bed upstairs. So Saima arrives, she parks her car in the driveway and turns the key, unaware of the horror that is awaiting her. Lights were off, so Saima turns them on as you do when you enter your house. And 45 seconds later, the lights are turned off and there is CCTV footage of the lights just being on and then off, and it's just absolutely chilling to know what actually happened. Saba charges down the hallway wearing a black hoodie, black trousers and black hat and stabs her sister Saima 68 times. She stabs her in the neck and the head and all over her body 68 times. It was so bad that obviously Saima didn't survive, but she was almost decapitated. She had stabbed her so many times in the neck that she almost lost her head. When I was researching this case, I wondered, did she know that that was Saba? Like, in her last moments, did she even know that that was her sister, or did she think that was an intruder? Shockingly, Saima's oldest daughter yells down saying, "Auntie, are you killing a mouse?" After what Saba done, she then quickly takes off the clothes, puts them in a Tesco bag as well with the knife. Then she goes to the back of the kitchen and smashes the window to look like a robbery has taken place. She also steals some of the family's jewellery. She quickly calls her father, although the contents of the call are unknown, but it's said that she calls him first before the police because she's trying to practice her story and make sure that she's going to get it right when she speaks to the police. And then 15 minutes later, she calls the police and then they arrive at about 11:30 that evening. And we have live body cam footage of the first account, the first time she ever spoke to police about what happened.
So who was at home with her, do you know?
I was at home.
So it was just you two?
Yeah,
Okay.
when I came home, she was at work. I was with the kids, the girl was asleep. When I put her to sleep, I went to the bathroom. When I came back, I didn't come back out. I kept on texting her. I was like, "Where are you?" Because the girl was crying. I heard the girl crying. I go to the girl is crying. "Where are you?" I thought she needed milk. So I rang her and texted her. I go to her, the girl's crying. She got to me, she's here. When she came here, I shout from the bathroom. I go to her, "Are you home?" She goes, "Yeah." So then I was fine. But then I heard her shouting suddenly, and when I heard her shouting, I just came out. When I came out,
So it was just her shouting, you didn't hear anybody else?
I didn't hear anybody else. I heard banging. When I heard banging, when I came down, I saw her.
How
like
long
that.
ago was that, roughly?
Maybe about half an hour ago.
Half an hour ago, okay.
And when I came down, then I rang my dad. I didn't know what to do. First, I was literally there. I just brought her
Did
to
you hear
me.
anyone knock on the door or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Are you aware of anyone else in the house?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Apart from when she came in, I didn't hear anything else before that.
Okay.
And then when she came...
So your belief is that it was just yourself, her and the children?
Me, her and
Where were the children
That's
now?
it.
They still inside?
They're still inside, yeah.
The girls were awake, so that's what I was saying. I wanted to go inside with the girls.
I don't know if you can tell, but she's literally going at like 100 miles per hour. Like, it may not seem suspicious, but it really is, because you would be in a state of shock if that had just happened and it really was a burglary. But she's talking really quickly and escalating her words and her emotions because she's trying so hard to look like the grieving sister. And she does a pretty good job, to be fair. They don't actually suspect Saba at that point in time. But her plan ultimately failed, because when she hid the Tesco bag under her bed, obviously straight away after the police were called, the house was closed off as a crime scene. So the family were taken to another location for the night and for the remaining days that they'd need to check the house. And they obviously found that bag underneath her bed with the bloodstained clothes and the murder weapon. Normally, in cases where a husband or a wife dies, it's just automatic that the spouse is the first person of interest, because there are a lot of domestic murders and a lot of domestic violence about. So they started to look at her feet. But obviously he had his alibi that he was at the funeral. So 8 days later, they started to get suspicious when they brought Saba in for questioning. Although her story was straight, there was just something not right about the way she was talking. She didn't seem that distressed, and she got on with her life for fairly easily for the next few days, even going to work. But after the bag was investigated on, they knew that it was Saba Khan who had murdered her 34-year-old sister and a mother of 4 while her nieces and nephews were asleep upstairs, and she was immediately charged with murder at the Old Bailey and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. And she showed no emotion for this crime, which is really shocking. Just want to go back to the fact that she stabbed her 68 times. There's a thing in true crime called a passion crime, and that's when you murder someone multiple times, you constantly keep attacking, keep stabbing them, because it doesn't take 68 times to kill someone, but it's a passion crime because the crime she committed was fueled by emotion. She had so much anger, so much jealousy, so much rage towards her sister because she wanted her face and she could not have him. And if she couldn't have him, then Saima couldn't either. Crimes where a sibling kills another sibling are extremely rare. It's called sistercide, and it's very unlikely and very rarely has happened because you have that bond with your sibling, especially sisters, and it's just crazy how she could do such a thing. You just have to wonder what was going through her mind throughout this affair. This is a statement from her feast that I think would be interesting to hear. So it says, quote, "I feel complete shame about having an affair with Saba. I never imagined anything like this would ever happen. Saba's actions have left our 4 children without a mum. I have 4 beautiful children, but I have lost my world and I cry every day. Saima was there for all 4 children. She did everything. There is not a day that goes by when I don't regret my affair with Saba." End quote. So that's today's case. I wonder what you guys think. I would love for you to leave a comment down below and tell me your thoughts. I just want to say thank you so much to all the support on my videos, all the new subscribers and all the comments. I really appreciate all of you. Take care and I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye.